You ever hear about something so horrifying that it sounds like it couldn't possibly be real? This happened in 1987 on a small, isolated Polynesian atoll called Fetite, deep in French Polynesia. Back then, the island had barely 180 people. No real contact with the outside world, just fishing boats every now and then, and a single radio telephone that connected to Tahiti. For the most part, life there was peaceful. Families fished, farmed coconuts, and worshipped at the little St. Mary Magdalene Church. They're linked to a strange blend of old Polynesian spirituality and Catholic faith. But for 3 days in August of 1987, that peace was completely destroyed. It started when 3 women arrived by boat. Their leader called herself Mama Sylvia. To most outsiders, Sylvia Alexandra seemed like an overly zealous churchgoer. She worked at a hospital in Tahiti and ran a small prayer group. But within that group, she was something more, almost worshipped. She claimed to have visions of the Virgin Mary weeping blood. She'd go into trances, speak in tongues, and say that the Holy Spirit was using her to heal the sick. When the Catholic Church in Tahiti told her to stop, she refused. "The Spirit speaks to me," she said. "I must spread the message." So she left Tahiti with 2 of her followers and set sail for Fetite. The islanders welcomed her. They didn't have much access to medicine, and when Sylvia prayed over the sick and they felt better, even briefly, word spread like wildfire. Soon, half the island believed she was a prophet. She and her 2 disciples took over the church, forcing out the frail old catechist, Tauto Takaragi, and began hosting night-long ceremonies. People would chant, cry, and shake under her hands as she declared demons were being driven out of them. But it didn't take long for the euphoria to turn into fear. People began whispering about evil spirits everywhere. If someone didn't pray hard enough, if a child fell ill, if someone didn't attend Sylvia's gatherings, they were accused of harboring demons. And then Sylvia announced a prophecy. She claimed God was abandoning the island, that demons had infested Feto. She said she'd chosen 7 disciples to continue her holy mission, each blessed with a rose to carry her powers. Then she left. She and her 2 women sailed away, and that's when the real horror began. With the island's mayor and only policemen away on business in Tahiti, there was no one left to stop what was coming. The 7 chosen started to cleanse the island. They broke into homes. They beat people who refused to pray. And when that didn't work, they convinced themselves the devil was just too strong. They said they could smell death in the air. Proof. They thought of demons. Soon, people began to manifest possessions. They would writhe, scream, and beg to be freed. That's when the first killing happened. A teenage boy claimed his aunt was possessed. The villagers prayed and shouted all night. By morning, they said the demon was gone. But the next night, it started again, this time with the assistant mayor, Ion Harris. He was epileptic, and when he tried to calm the mob, someone said they could see the devil in his eyes. The villagers tied an electric cord around his neck and forced candles into his mouth. They beat him, held a crucifix to his face, and when he wouldn't vomit up the demon, they dragged him into the lagoon. They dunked him over and over again until he stopped breathing. They burned his body outside the church, believing it purified his soul. But it didn't end there. Next, they turned on the old catechist, Tauto Takaragi, the man who used to run the church before Mama Sylvia arrived. He'd been wandering the island lately, dressed in rags, claiming to be Jesus. Before the mania, people just pitied him. Now they said he was the devil in disguise. They tied him up, half-burned him on a bonfire, pulled him out, still alive, and left him tied to a stake for a whole day in the blazing sun. At one point, a toddler babbled a word that sounded like burn, and the villagers took it as a sign from God. They lit the fire. Again, witnesses said he screamed for 3 full minutes before dying by the next night. The killings became uncontrollable. A woman named Teta begged her son to exorcise her. She was delirious, convinced she was possessed. Her son held her underwater until she stopped moving. Then he burned her body, laughing as it turned to ash, shouting, "Get out of here, demon!" When her brother-in-law tried to stop the madness, they hanged him and burned him. to dot within 2 days. 6 people were dead, all tortured, drowned, or burned alive by their own families and neighbors. It would have continued if not for one thing. A helicopter appeared above the island, the mayor returning early, suspicious, after losing contact by radio. He brought police, a doctor, and a priest. When they landed, they found something out of a nightmare. Women and children tied to wooden poles in the church courtyard, drenched in gasoline. Villagers screaming about demons. The smell of burnt flesh, still lingering in the air. They stopped the executions just in time. When the police searched the church grounds, they found a shallow grave filled with 6 charred bodies. Over 20 people were later arrested. Many of them, even after being taken away, still believed they'd done the right thing, that they had saved the island. Leader of the 7, Francois Mounty, was sentenced to 14 years. Others got between 5 and 10. One of the killers, who drowned his own mother, told the court, "Greater than I loved my mother. But when I threw her into the fire, I didn't think it was her. I thought it was the demon." Mama Sylvia herself was never charged. She claimed her teachings were misinterpreted. Today, the church where all of it happened still stands, restored, quiet, and peaceful. The villagers don't talk about it. Most of them just want to forget. But the scars are still there. 6 people dead in 3 days. Not by outsiders. Not by an invading army, but by their own hands, guided by faith, twisted into madness. And maybe the scariest part of this story is that everything you just heard actually happened.